Hey GSM, I'm Greer. I'm so glad you're joining us on this journey through the greatest story ever told. Before we dive into the rest of the story, why don't you take a minute? Reflect on some of the places we've been over the last few weeks, and imagine what it would be like if you were in the story yourself, as one of the characters that we're walking along with. Go ahead and close your eyes and use your imagination as we dive into the rest of the story. David ruled Israel for many years, and then passed the throne to his son, Solomon. When Solomon became king, he prayed, "God, I need your wisdom to discern good from evil. No one could lead these people the right way without your direction." With great joy, God filled Solomon's heart and mind with wisdom. Solomon gained great knowledge in many areas. He became an expert on birds, fish, animals, and plants. He also wrote many proverbs, poems, and songs. The Israelites were amazed by Solomon, and he became known over all the world for his remarkable wisdom. People from faraway countries traveled to Israel just to learn from him. Solomon made a declaration. He said, "God has blessed us and given us order and safety. Let's build a permanent home for God in the center of our land." Right away, thousands of workers began to build a massive temple to replace the tabernacle. The tabernacle was God's sacred tent that the Israelites took with them while wandering through the desert. 7 years later, the magnificent temple was completed. Suddenly, a fire flashed from above as God's presence entered into the temple in a thick cloud. Then Solomon prayed, "God, there is no one like you in all of heaven and earth. You keep your promises, and your love endures forever." The temple became a special place of prayer, worship, and sacrifice. It was a symbol of God's continuing presence with the people, and Solomon became the most wise and prosperous king in Israel's history. But when Solomon grew old, he changed. He brought home wives from foreign lands that turned his heart away from God. Solomon began to do evil things and built shrines to false gods. He treated the people of Israel like his slaves. Before long, Solomon's son, Rehoboam, became the next king. He was even more cruel than his father had been, and he forced the Israelites to do harsh labor and pay unreasonable taxes. The people rose up in protest, and a civil war broke out, and Israel divided into two, a northern kingdom called Israel and a southern kingdom called Judah. Both kingdoms became filled with violence and corruption. Everyone lived selfishly. In their greed, they neglected the poor, needy, and the helpless. Almost all of their kings rejected God's ways and worshipped other gods. So God inspired messengers, called prophets, to challenge the widespread hypocrisy and corruption in Israel and Judah. One prophet, named Isaiah, confronted the people with these sharp words. "You pretend to worship and love God, but you don't. You say the right words in the temple, but then you abuse your workers and take advantage of the poor. If you want to show that you really love God, then free those who are wrongly imprisoned. Lighten the burden of those who work for you. Let the oppressed go free, and remove the chains that bind them. Share your food with the hungry, and give shelter to the homeless. Give clothes to those in need, and do not hide from those who need your help." Despite the prophet's warnings, the people of Israel and Judah continued to live selfishly and reject God's ways. Before long, the powerful Assyrians attacked the northern kingdom of Israel. The Assyrians carried them away, never to be heard from again. God's prophet Jeremiah gave this warning to the southern kingdom that remained. "You've broken your covenant with God. Praying to your idols won't save you when your enemies attack." The people replied, "Don't waste your breath. We'll continue to live as we want to." Before long, the southern kingdom was taken captive by the Babylonians, who burned the magnificent temple to the ground. Most of the people of Judah were scattered, captive, and enslaved. During this time of exile, God inspired Jeremiah and other prophets to encourage the people of Judah. Jeremiah brought this message from God: "I will bring you back from exile. I have great plans for you. plans to give you a hope and a future. Seek me with all of your heart, and you will find me. After 50 years, a new empire, the Persians, defeated the Babylonians and took control of the region. The Persian king, named Cyrus, gave this decree: the people of Judah are now free to return home and rebuild your temple. We will provide you with gold, supplies, and livestock to help you begin again. May your God be with you. So a small remnant of the people slowly began to arrive back in their promised land. They were now called Jews, named after the former kingdom of Judah. As they began to construct a new temple, they realized that they couldn't make it as large and elaborate as the original. Many of the older people wept as they remembered what they had and what was now lost. Though they were back safe in the promised land, the Jewish people were still controlled by another nation. They now longed for a new king, a Messiah, to rescue them and fully restore their kingdom. The time was approaching for God to enter into the story in a way that no one expected.